Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Christian. Good morning, good evening, good night, good day. Wherever you are, whenever you're seeing this, I hope you are good. So guys, today we're going to be talking about the power of no and, the power of being disliked and how to just see the blessing in rejection. And I feel like I've done a video about this before or some adjacent topics before in the past. But this is going to be an updated version, I guess, about this conversation because I've had some new downloads come in about some different things about the power of being disliked and why rejection really is protection and how we can see that in our everyday lives. And also some ways that we can just look within ourselves a little bit differently and ask ourselves the right questions that we need to so we can have these full circle moments and continue to learn about ourselves and learn who we are and learn what we need and everything. So let's go ahead and get right into the conversation. As always, you guys can book private sessions with me down below, releasing sessions, get your self-led tarot course, all of that and then some. Check down below in the description box for all of the tea. And yeah, so let's go ahead and get into this, guys. Oh, I'm also going to be doing the private full moon readings until Monday. So this video is going to be up before Monday. So if you guys see this video before Monday and you want to get a full moon reading, you can still get one of those and I'll have it down below. And happy full moon in Taurus. The energy is still going around. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the power of no. So what led me to even think about this and want to have this discussion with you guys is recognizing who we really want to be accepted by and really questioning ourselves and questioning our ego when we are disappointed or when something doesn't turn out to be what we always thought it would be. It's really important to ask ourselves like, wait, let me just specifically say, okay, so I was in a situation recently where I, just felt like I wanted to be accepted in a certain space. And I had to ask myself like, why? Wait, not why, but I had to ask myself, what space am I trying to be accepted in? Like, why do I want to be accepted so badly in this space? What is this space? What am I going to get from this space? Why am I trying so hard to be accepted or be uplifted in this space? What's going on here? Why is this the space that I feel like I need to dedicate my time to being accepted in? What is it about this space? And this led me to the realization that I really didn't want to be accepted in this space anyway. And I had to remind myself, and I've been talking to all of my friends about this past week. I've been reminding everybody and reminding myself that we have to ask ourselves where we want to be comfortable. Like if you're in a toxic environment and it's not comfortable for you, you should be happy that you don't fit in that environment. You shouldn't want to fit in a toxic environment. You shouldn't want the liars and the deceivers and the worst people in the world, or the people that harm you, the people that don't respect you, the people that don't love you, the situations where you aren't able to flourish in, the spaces that make you feel like your voice isn't good enough. You don't want to feel good in those spaces. And sometimes we have to be in those spaces because of family stuff or because of proximity or because of uncomfortable situations or because of career obligations or because of whatever. Sometimes we have to be in those spaces, but we want to just understand that our discomfort is actually a good thing. It's a good thing that you don't feel good in a space where you don't belong. So when you don't belong, when you get the rejection, when you get the no, when you realize, okay, this isn't a space for me, that should be a good thing because you're one step closer to being in a space that is for you. This doesn't mean that the people that are in the space are necessarily bad people or inherently, the villains in the situation, because eventually we'll all be a villain in somebody's story. And I know I've said the liars and the deceivers, but eventually we'll all lie and we'll all deceive. People have to separate themselves from everybody eventually, so we can't always be the person for everybody. And I know I always say this, but we can't always be the person for everybody. And we can't always be the right person for a situation, for a job, for a relationship, for an opportunity. It's not always us. So when it's a rejection, when it's a no, you don't know what you're being saved from. You don't know what God is protecting you from. You don't know what you could have possibly experienced if you would have went down that path. Now, because you didn't go down that path, you've been spared from whatever you were going to experience, in that space that you didn't need to anyway. I don't think any suffering is for nothing. I don't think we go through any hardship for nothing. And that is such a hard thing to say and to have faith in because we go through so much in this life. I've been through a lot in my life. I know you guys have been through a lot in your life, and we're going to go through more, like that's just a part of living. We're going to go through stuff. We're going to get no's. We're going to get rejections. We're going to deal with losses. And it's hard to deal with these things. And it's not always something that we want to let go. Sometimes it's very difficult for us to have to, step away from something, but I don't ever think it's for nothing. I don't ever think it's for absolutely nothing. Even if it's something that we don't appreciate in this human experience, even if it's something that has to add to our grief before it frees us, you know, we don't know the journey or the path or even the way we're going to have to digest some of the stuff that we experience in life. We just don't know what that process is going to look like. We just have to just do what we can to do our best, and we just have to try to continue to show up for ourselves in the best way that we know how. And I think that just being kind to yourself, just listening to yourself, just showing up for yourself, just being open to really, really, really hearing, you know, what you need and what you want out of life, being dedicated to make sure that you're able to get those things. You know, I think that is a good place to have your mind. You know, I think in these spaces of rejection, in these spaces of no's, when we're in a space where we're like, okay, why do I want this person to like me? Why do I want this person to accept me so bad? Why do I want to fit in here so bad? Why do I want these followers so bad? Why do I want this job so bad? Why do I want this blank so bad? Why does this, not having this, why does that make me feel bad about myself? Because desire isn't a bad thing. Wanting isn't a bad thing. Even wanting to be accepted isn't a bad thing. But if certain things make us feel bad about ourselves, if certain things make us feel like we're wrong, if certain things make us second guess ourselves, or if they just give us anxiety, they just make us feel uncomfortable, I think it's important to ask ourselves, okay, wait, you know, like, why is this desire not fueled by excitement, you know, or motivation or inspiration? Or why is my creativity not leading me in this space? Why am I feeling so uncomfortable here that I'm just over it and I would rather just be comfortable, you know? And if that means that this person likes me, or if that means that I'm able to do this with everybody and not be the odd one out, if that means that I'm able to, you know, talk like everybody, if that means that, you know, I'm not getting picked on or singled out, or whatever that means for us, however we want to fit in and however we want to belong, I think it can be important to ask ourselves, like, who do I want to fit in with? Why do I want to fit in so bad? Why do I feel like it's a bad thing that I don't fit in? You know, why do I feel like it's a problem for me to not think like everybody and feel like everybody? And this was something that I've had to deal with my entire life, because I've never felt like I really have fit in, ever. You know, I've always felt like I just was different from everybody. And I don't know if everybody feels like that. I don't know if it's just a Leo thing or what. Maybe it was because I was always just kind of in my own space. I'm the only girl. I have 6 brothers, and my dad was a very important man, and I was, you know, the only girl. So all of our, you know, my siblings, like, we were all doing very well in school. I played the violin. I was a pageant queen, you know, like, my parents' children, you know, I think that we were really the pride and joy of our parents. You know, us coming up, they always showed us off. And I know I took a lot of pride in, you know, being who I was and making sure that I didn't do what everybody else did, and that I was able to set myself apart and be a leader and be an example for people. That's just how my parents raised me and, you know, taught me, and that's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to be like everybody else. And I shortly realized that being like everybody else is the easiest way to survive, you know, in society. So a lot of my time has been spent to assimilate, even in relationships. I've talked about this so much that mostly in relationships and in friendships, all of my relationships before now, I was just being whoever people wanted me to be. I was doing whatever I could to fit in and find a space that fit for me, but I never felt comfortable anywhere. I never felt comfortable in any space. I was just being whoever I needed to be to make that space comfortable for myself. And it always, you know, failed. It never worked out, because you can't fake who you are forever. Nobody can fake who they are forever. The truth is always going to be revealed. And if you're not supposed to be in a space, if that is not your truth, then you're not going to be able to be there. But it's a good thing to be led into your truth. It's a good thing to be steered into your truth and just be led into an environment where you're able to, you know, trust yourself and have an opportunity to really connect with, you know, who you are and, you know, who you want to be, and, you know, just really take a chance to look at yourself from a really good lens and a good perspective, instead of looking at yourself with judgment. Because that's what I think we do a lot of times. When we hear a no or we get rejected, we turn it into, what's wrong with me? Like, there must be something wrong with me. There must be a problem with me. Like, why is this not working for me? What's my issue? When in reality, you know, we should look at ourselves with gratitude. We should look at ourselves in awe and curiosity. We should never immediately judge ourselves when we aren't, you know, immediately meshing into a space. It's never about putting blame on us. And I think that's why we carry a lot of shame and a lot of guilt. That's why we're afraid to make new friends, and we're afraid to take risks, and we're afraid of, possibly having things not work out. Because when you get to the point where a failure doesn't really matter that much, like whether it's good or bad, whether it works or doesn't, whatever it is, you're just going to take it because you're going to be okay in the end. And you also know that one failure doesn't make you a failure. You also know that, one flop or one L doesn't mean that you're a loser forever, that you'll never have a second chance. We know how hard we can be on ourselves and how negatively we can think and feel about ourselves when we don't perform how we want to perform in life, whatever they may mean for us. So if you just look at it as, okay, I made this mistake and I'm still who I am. I still have my knowledge. I still have this. I still have this. Nothing about me has changed. I haven't instantly dropped a bunch of points on any type of scale. I am fine. I have wisdom now. I have experience. I have new understanding. I'm not going to be in the same space that I was. If I have to take the test again, I'm going to pass it because I know what I needed to know in that first space. So it really gives us an opportunity to just be aware of what we want, be aware of where we're going, have faith about where we're going in the spaces that we're going to step into. And I think overall, we should just be kinder to ourselves. I think that self-love is really the answer to so many things, loving yourself and thinking highly of yourself. And I think it's good to be a little deluded, about who you are, and be a little delusional about who you are. And what I mean by that is because the truth of this world and the fact and reality of this world that we live in is that we should punish ourselves when things don't go good. We should punish ourselves, and we have to have cheat days to enjoy our favorite meals. And, we should just push our little bodies and push our little minds as much as we can and wring as much as we can out of ourselves. When in reality, this is going to be the human experience that we're supposed to have to get to wherever we're supposed to be next. And that's going to be it, regardless if you choose to say yes or step into this or do this or do this. So I think that the journey is more about making it your own. I think our journey is more about just experiencing life and everything that comes with life to the fullest, instead of making it something where you put yourself under scrutiny for every little thing, and putting yourself under that scrutiny, having your ego lead you, because your ego is always looking to say, well, we're not this enough, or we're not that enough, or, whatever. Your ego is really what, is just forcing you to want to be comfortable no matter what space you're in, because your ego loves, to be accepted and, to just feel like they're always right where they need to be. Your ego is what makes you very, very uncomfortable in spaces where you have to be humble, where you have to recognize, like, wow, this is not where I need to be, but I'm here anyway. It's very much so like, Princess of Genovia, in your little schoolgirl uniform, like, I'm really not supposed to be here. I'm not meant for this. I know I'm supposed to be somewhere different. I know I'm supposed to be in a better relationship. I know I'm supposed to be in a better this or a better that. And for whatever reason, I have to make my way out of this situation. I can't let this situation be another reason of why I'm not this, or why I'm not this enough, or why I don't have this, or why I don't deserve. Instead, how can I learn from this situation? How can I see what this no means, what this rejection means, what this coming to an end? What does this mean for me? What does this mean for me moving forward? How are things going to look for me moving forward? What overall am I about to step into? Having that in mind, instead of being ready to judge yourself for things not working out, it allows you to really release stuff. And being able to accept a no allows you to really, really let it go. Because just like I said, a lot of us, we say, I'll never love again. I'll never have kids again. I'll never get married again. I'll never try to open my business again. I'll never try to, do this at my job again. I'll never try to fulfill this again. I'll never go back to school. I'll never talk to this person again. I'll never do this again. And some things we shouldn't ever do again. Some things we shouldn't. But there are certain things that we don't do just because of the PTSD of failure. Just because of the PTSD of failure, the PTSD of things not going our way, that makes us just crippled to the point where we can't take another step forward. And fear is fear. Doubt is doubt. Hesitation is hesitation. If you have a lot of fear around one thing in your life, the chances are that energy is going to be sprinkled into other areas of your life, because we don't just experience one thing in one space. If you have issues, having conversations with people, and something really, 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 really big happens the first time you try to have a conversation with someone, like they blow up and it ends up just destroying a really important relationship in your life. Even if you need to have a conversation with someone that's not that big of a deal, it may paralyze you, because it's not just about this conversation you're having with this one person. It's about what you've lost the last time you tried to speak up. So when we're stepping into a new space and we already have fear and we let the no's from the past haunt us, it's not just about what if this doesn't work out. It's like, oh my God, I know how I felt when this didn't work out, and when this didn't work out, and when this didn't work out. How am I going to avoid this? How am I going to avoid this? That's why a lot of people stay on jobs, because we want to avoid starting over. A lot of people don't want to get out of relationships. We want to avoid the dating process. What do people always say? Oh, I don't want to start over. I don't want to start over. I've been here for X amount of years. I've known this person for X amount of years. I don't want to start over and get to meet somebody new. What's the big deal about starting over? Because you're going to have to start over eventually. If something's not for you, and God willing, you don't pass away before it's time for you to fix it, you're going to have the opportunity to fix it. You're going to have the opportunity to fix it. Something's going to happen where you're going to have a chance to fix it. And a lot of times you're pushed off the ledge if you don't take the leap of faith yourself. That's what happens in a lot of spaces in our lives. If you know that you've been needed to leave a job, a lot of times you'll just get fired, out of nowhere, and you've been knowing you needed to leave. Or if you've been needing to leave a relationship for a long time and somebody finally just crosses this boundary that you've been waiting for them to cross. And now you're like, okay, I can wash my hands with this, or whatever, whatever decision we're pushed to make. Eventually, if there's something that we need to do, something that we need to see, we're going to be pushed to make that decision. So when you're pushed into that decision, you're going to have to deal with all of the emotions anyway. So the benefit of accepting a no lets you deal with it on your own time, because we can recognize a no easily. The no's come after the red flags, after we feel the butterflies in our stomach and the anxiety. So when you step into that no, you want to be able to handle it. You want to recognize what's happening around you. You want to say, okay, let me figure out how I can, learn from this space. Let me figure out how I can utilize this to the best of my ability. What have I learned while I'm here? How am I going to help that make me know what I don't want moving forward? Because a lot of our experience in this life is to show us what we don't want. A lot of times we get what we think we want, so we can realize, oh, this is not what I want at all. I was way off the mark. And that can be something very hard to accept, but sometimes that's exactly what we need. Sometimes we need to be in a space where we're able to see, okay, I know what I should have been asking for. I know what I should have been trying to get. And having that full circle moment means that we can, go beyond where we are. It means that we can go beyond how we feel. It means that we can go beyond what we're thinking and what we're experiencing, and we can challenge ourselves to do something different. We can push ourselves into a space where we're able to just connect with ourselves on a different level. Because when you're able to accept a no, you don't ever have to turn your back on yourself. You don't ever have to feel like, why me? You're able to be like, okay, what's next for us? What's next for us? What's next for me? What's next for the girl? What's next for this person? What's next for the millionaire? What's next on my roster? You want to see your life literally as your story being put together piece by piece, brick by brick, because that's exactly what's happening. And any issue, any turning away, any rejection that you experience, any no, any L, any loss, any flop, it's for the plot. And unfortunately, the plot is plotting. The plot isn't always good, but it's for the plot. It's for the plot. And, fortunately, but unfortunately, we have a plan that is destined. And the only reason I say unfortunately is because we're humans down here, Lord. It's hard for us to deal with the rejection and the pain of being, just everybody in your friend group turning their back on you, or your partner for X amount of years has looked at you and they don't want you no more, or your job that you've been dedicating your time to for 10 years decides that they don't want you no more, or your business partner decides they don't want to be in business with you, or your roommate moves out last minute and now you're fucked up, or whatever. We have so many situations where we thought that we were going to be good in a space and the wool was pulled over our eyes, and it can be very, very hard to walk away from that and to keep dreaming and keep believing and keep being optimistic and keep loving. But that's the point that we want to get to, because if we're able to do that, then we'll be able to do that in the future. We'll be able to do it again and again and again. And that's how you turn your no's to yeses. That's how you see a closed door and you're like, oh my God, this is so good. And I saw a quote recently that said, the ego is what gets mad at a closed door with nothing behind it. Like, there's nothing behind this door. There's nothing this relationship can give you. There's nothing this person, this situation can give you anymore. There's nothing behind it. It has nothing for you. But you're mourning the loss of being able to open it because you just want to have it just to have, and just having isn't enough. and that's what comes with maturity. We feel that quality is better than quantity. We realize that even if we have a bunch of no's and it's a no's that would have been a hot mess, it's better to have 1,000 doors closed in your face and every door would have led you to hell, honey. It's better to have 1,000,000 doors straight to hell closed in your face and having one door that leads you to where you're supposed to be. That's better. That is better than having, a bunch of those doors that are going to lead you where you're supposed to be, but you're so afraid to open them because you're worried that one of them is going to be a no. You want to get in the habit of just accepting what life brings you. Easier said than done, of course, but have conversations with yourself in that moment. When you see a red flag, do something about it. Have a conversation with yourself, pray about it in that moment, meditate about it, write it down, put it in your phone. See life, be an active participant in your life. Don't just let life pass you by. When you recognize something, do something. When you see something, say something. Write it down. Make a note. I'm going to ask God about this. I'm going to see what this means. Seek and ye shall find, honey. Look into what's happening around you when you're in these experiences and learn from it and use these blessings and these lessons for your benefit as you're moving forward. And I think being able to accept those pivots in our life is really going to be good for us next year. And that's just a good lesson to learn, because I know we've all had to say goodbye to a lot of things this year. We've had to step into a lot of different things this year. So it's really, really, really important to just trust where we're going and have a lot of faith about where we're going and trust the process and know that we're on the right track. But yes, guys, this is a little conversation about the power of no, the beauty in rejection, the beauty in being the one that's left out, and how we can, find our way back to accepting those parts of ourselves, recognizing how we can use that stuff for our benefit, and recognizing what spaces we really want to be accepted in, so we can make sure that we cling to spaces that are going to be good for us, and we don't just fight to be accepted and fit in just for the sake of acceptance and being fit in. We want to really belong where we're supposed to belong. We want to belong in spaces that are going to give us exactly what we need and what we've been looking for. So yes, I appreciate y'all. I thank you guys for being here, and I will see you guys next time. Bye guys. Bless.